Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Hunter and this is Zach.
This is our best guess.
Somewhat. Um, so today we're continuing our series about our
Past. And
past.
again, I want to kind of point out why we're doing this is so that we can make a string of experiences to what makes us who we are today. And everyone has those string of experiences, and I hope that the more we kind of and I want to get into all of my shit because I want people to not feel uncomfortable about expressing their
about
shit.
your shitty jokes.
No. They should still feel uncomfortable with my jokes, but just like for themselves, like if anyone else wants to talk.
Really,
about...
what we want to do is highlight how people become themselves,
right.
And
you're not alone in it.
Yeah. We don't want. What we don't want specifically is for people to instantaneously judge other people based on nothing but the surface level
right
judgment.
Right.
Which is a hefty thing to try. But that's why we're doing this. Anyway, today we are going to talk about 6 through 8.
Yes, middle school.
American
middle school.
School.
Junior high, whatever it's called. Like, is that what?
I'm sorry, what, Kennedy?
Is that what British people call it? Like junior high?
I have no idea.
I
actually really don't know the over the ocean
I hate
side.
British people.
Are you gonna tell them to unsubscribe? Go ahead. You might as well.
No, British people can stay.
You pretty much have no subscribers at this point because
British
you
people,
keep telling them to leave.
No, they can stay subscribed because I want them to know how much I hate them. Everyone else, it's like, look, you don't need to hear all this nasty stuff. But like British people.
Anyway. All right, guys. So today we are doing Elephants on Parade. It is a Bosque local from our hometown. I think that's the best I'm going to do. If you can drink with us at home, we appreciate it. If not, all the same. Cheers.
Cheers.
These might explode. No explosions.
So I'm going to take a slow on this one. We did just finish our episode with Bren. That was amazing. If you guys can, I would say look at that one over any one of ours. Honestly, that was a good one.
That was very intellectually driven. Actually,
yeah,
it was an incredible conversation with somebody who knew what they were talking about.
Yes, unlike us.
Unlike us, truly.
Okay, so
I actually have a lot of middle school experiences. So would you
I'll,
like to start this?
I'll start it, but I do want you to take a little bit of, I wanted you to take a little bit of time because in the previous episodes you haven't had that much to say, and that's okay. Most of my stuff was like in that time period. This one is more so like this is like the come down. So for me, for like.
See, this is the time where I started realizing who I was as a person. And I have a real investment in things that happened in middle school. So I would like you to start. Like, what's a good memory from middle school?
The first time I jerked off was in middle school.
You waited that long?
I did, yeah. Okay, so it's something I skipped in elementary school. I got caught with porn when I was, like, in 4th grade. Because my friend was like, hey, Google this shit, and then I Googled it, and I was just like mesmerized by it. I never touched myself or anything, but like literally the first day I found it was the first day I got caught.
No shit.
And that scarred me. And then finally,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So like in the sense, like in middle school was the first time, like, and it wasn't even until like late middle school. It was not 6th grade. I was still
late. Like
it was like 8th grade, like 7th or 8th grade.
Wow, that's impressive actually.
But. So like you're talking about middle school was a very like that's where you became you. I was already kind of
See, but you were forced into a weird situation of maturity before I was. Mm-hmm. By a lot.
Right. And maybe that's so like a lot of people have told me that like you had to mature earlier, but like this middle school was when I really kind of accepted that like this is who I am. Like I can't, like as much as I hate it or as much as other people hate it, this is just who I am. And I was at middle school was a really tough time for me. Like I was very
Middle school was. It started as a tough time for me, and then it became something that I sort of like.
God, this tastes fantastic compared to White Claw. Or sorry.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because it is. Anyway, yeah, no, middle school. All right, let's talk about sixth grade. Let's try and make this.
I'll let you go first. Like, let's go through sixth grade.
So sixth grade, I started middle school. I had long hair past my waist. I constantly wore really tight clothes. I was really skinny. I know the last episode I said I was really short and thick. Over that summer, whatever happened, I became like this stick figure, skinny kid with long hair. I was in gifted, so I was already weird. People did not like me. That was the overall gist of it. I ended up liking gifted classes and being in the same gifted teachers classes for many sessions, periods, whatever they call them. I think it's periods, first, second, third period. But
no, it's like quarters or whatever they're called. Yeah,
whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
I was in the same teacher's class for a long time, and he interested me in reading. One, I was interested in reading before, but he interested me in reading almost everything. Two, I'm fairly sure that was the first friend I ever dissed.
Yeah?
I made a friend. His name was Alex.
Uh-huh.
He was nerdier than me.
Uh-huh.
And when I say that, I don't mean that as a diss. I like nerdy people. I
was always the nerdiest one. And it'll become clear as to go on.
I'm a very nerdy person. I always was. But he was so unpopularly nerdy that I ended up not being able to be friends with him simply because he didn't want other people to be friends with me. And that was where I drew the line. I was like, no, we can all be friends, or you and I can't be friends.
Uh-huh.
And I remember because he came up to my door with his mom and asked me if we were still friends.
Wow.
That was a hugely impactful moment. I was 6th grade. He came up to my door, his mom was beside him, and he was like, "Are we still friends?" And I was like, "Can we be friends with X and X?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Then no." And that was where I drew the line. Because I had nothing against him.
So, this is interesting. But, like, try to remember, like, the very beginning of 6th grade. Like, remember the first day of walking in. Who were you at that point? So you said you were skinny. Like, over that summer you were skinny. But, like, when you were walking into school, what do you remember?
I remember being the new kid again. I remember being really angry because I didn't really want to go to that school. I remember instantaneously liking Mr. Brenneman, which is the most influential teacher I've ever had. Other than that, I don't remember a lot. Like, it wasn't... The first day of school has never been a big thing for me because it's always been, like, every year is the first day of a new school where you know nobody. So it wasn't as big as I think.
Well, just to give, like, a point to where, like, when we get to the beginning of 7th grade, how you change. But, like, yeah, if you were angry, like, that's where you're at. You're not thinking about school.
Oh, I've always been pissed off. That was, like, that's a constant.
You weren't thinking about school, like, you weren't thinking about anything. You were just thinking about, like, man, I'm fucking pissed. That's
actually a truth, yeah. I've always been really, really good at school. there's never been a period of time where I struggled with any material ever.
Do you remember all your teachers?
From middle school?
From 6th grade specifically.
6th grade. Most of them were Mr. Brenneman. One of them was Miss Pappas, and the other... No, Pappas was 7th grade. I don't know if I remember all my teachers from 6th grade.
I don't remember all of them. I had Miss Smith, who was my math teacher. I had Mr. Jake, who was my like science teacher, which was geology and like astronomy, which was sweet. He was the teacher that got me interested in science, like in general.
Aren't those precious people? Like,
yeah,
dude, I love you because you finally got me into a study that matters.
Yeah. And I had Ms. Good, who was my history teacher, and she was good. And then I had...
I don't hate you anymore for that. I want you to know that.
No, you wouldn't hate me if you saw her. Don't worry. But, like, I actually... Maybe I don't remember. Oh, no, I had Ms. Bleck. Maybe that was 7th grade. Never mind. I didn't have Ms. Bleck. Don't listen to me. She was a computer teacher. I had...
See, that's a difference between our age. I have no computer teachers. No, like, that didn't exist.
I had a computer class where we learned a lot
Typing
of stuff.
existed in elementary school, and then it disappeared for the rest of my schooling career.
Middle school computers were actually a big thing, and it was super interesting because, like, I had a computer of my own, and, like, that's where...
Like a laptop or
like a laptop, yes. But it was still a computer. Like that was
right. I'm not differentiating. I'm just asking.
Okay, so I'll talk about my beginning of middle school was at this time I was hanging out. Remember I mentioned my friend Ashton last time? He was my first best friend. So I was hanging out with him all day summer, all day whatever. Also with the beginning of middle school was when I was able to go to Brownsea, which was like a week-long or 2-week-long camping trip for Boy Scouts. At a specific
that really did have like a huge impact on you.
And it did, yeah. And actually like that I that was actually like a turning point for me because
was Ashton also in Boy Scouts?
Oh yeah,
yes,
that's
you
where
mentioned.
we met. Yeah, and we were there. Right. And that was a turning point for me because it was like I was never good at hiking. I was never good at anything. I was good at like tying knots and like the very technical knowledge, but none of the application. And being away from my parents for...
Do you think that was because you were bigger?
It was because I was bigger, yes. It was because I was physically incapable of doing anything.
I didn't mean to like highlight it, but...
No, that's seriously what it was. It was like I was
We haven't really addressed this on camera yet. I watched the last episode, but...
Oh, I didn't talk about it?
No, none
I
of
was
us
fat. I was
a
big boy.
Big
guy. I was a big kid. And like... It was kid stuff, but like at the same time, it was like more than just kid fat. It was like I was chunky. Like people, that's one reason why I got bullied so much, and that was one of my coping mechanisms with bullying was I would eat so much. So like, with that like trip away from my parents, and like they limited our food while we were there. Like everyone, it wasn't just me. It was just like. Oh, you need to, like, if you were to survive...
Fuck you, fat kid!
No, so, like, literally, they fed us every morning for, like, 2 weeks, or maybe it was 1 week. I don't remember how long it was. It was a while, but it was, like...
It's probably 2 weeks, honestly, because...
It might have been 2 weeks, and it was so nice, but it was,
The last
like,
trip I went on Boy Scouts was 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, and it was, like, a big one, so it was, like, we were there for a while, and I loved it.
Is this meals?
No, we're not doing the mics. Put that down. We're doing this.
What? I know what we're doing. We don't have to have this argument in the middle of the thing. I'm just asking if that's mine.
I don't think that's yours. I think that's Brent's.
Well, then it's mine now.
Okay, yeah, you can have it.
We're not married. We're not married. Don't worry about it. Anyway.
But so they limit our food. And, like, I think this was at the beginning of, like, middle school. So, like, this was actually, like, a big thing for me was Brownsea because, first off,
that sounds like Hummingbird for me.
It was a little bit like Hummingbird, except it was like not so much about music. It was mostly about like Boy Scout shit.
No shit.
Yeah, but I was away from like everything, And like I was away from the older kids. I was only with the kids that were like my age. I was.
Oh, really? They like.
Yes. I was away from my parents. I was away from every. I was just in the wilderness, and like, that's when I really kind of solidified who I was because, um,
You think that honestly, like that was.
yes,
I'm Zach now.
right, and I absolutely believe that because, with that, so like with them eating food, I never noticed that I was hungry. I never noticed that like any of that, and I only ate because of like all the stuff that was going on. But like with that separation,
Repressing emotion.
right, right.
Yeah.
But with that, like literally every day, every morning, we got an egg, we got half a banana, like a hard boiled egg, and then a half a banana, and then a piece of bread, and like that was it every morning. Which is in hindsight is like not that bad of a breakfast.
Actually,
but like
it's surprisingly balanced for a
right.
camp.
Right,
Honestly.
and every kid got that every morning, and that like for some reason that for me was like it felt equalizing. It was like wow, I'm like all these kids are just like me, even the ones that like except for me being big, yeah. Except that I didn't even really even think about me being big at that point because there was no girls. There was like I wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't like an equalizer, as in like I'm eating too much for breakfast. It was like.
It was like, wow, these guys are just like me. Like even the ones like there was no bullying there. Like no one was getting bullied, and like, it was really the first like communal experience that I had where like everyone was just like, I'm away from home. I don't have my parents. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, and they were like, I'm not gonna bully this kid. Like I'm like literally, I have no idea what's going on any more than this kid knows what's going on. I'm just.
That was your first like. Not being shit kicked.
Yes, exactly. And
wow.
So with that, I was able to. I really got into it. I loved it because what we had to do was like there was a series of tasks that spanned across the however many weeks we were there. Which one was like getting ranked in swimming, which you couldn't swim unless you ranked above a certain level. But I was the highest level ranked of swimming, surprisingly. And what was crazy about that was like there was kids that were like more in shape than me, but I was the highest level of swimming. Like I could actually swim better than other kids that were more in shape than me because they just didn't know how to swim. And like they couldn't do the paddling back and forth as well as like.
This sounds weirdly positive for your life.
It's super no, seriously, when I talk about Boy Scouts with you, like this was the point where like
you're still a Boy Scout in my eyes.
No, I know. And like this part was like I learned so much about myself in it. And
I could see why you would say like I am Zach after that.
Right. And especially after like one of the things we did where like I really like I understood like wow, this is something that I like was we had groups of 3 or 4 and literally we were given, and it's the wilderness. It's a lot of wilderness, but like they know where it's
at. Is it wilderness or is it cabins with like?
No. It's the closest thing it is to a cabin is like a canvas tent, which that was where we slept. But for this, like there was a specific night where like, everything else was like showers that were like communal showers, but like we showered once a day, and like we even if we got to shower, because like none of us wanted to shower. None of us wanted to do that.
You're kids, yeah.
Exactly. And then, but there was a night where like we were told, we were GPS reading, or not GPS, compass reading. So we were like going to a specific spot, and like they designate every spot for like a different kid in the wilderness, but like it was still enough to where like we were away from the camp into wilderness using the compass, and there was a marker on the tree, and I was like, wow. We're actually like away from the camp, and like we just gotta spend out. Like they didn't tell us what to pack, they didn't tell us what to do. They just said, "You're spending the night here. Whatever you pack, whatever you're doing, that's your shit. Like we're not gonna help you." And I was one of the ones who like helped us get to that point because no one else understood.
You were like a participant, like you felt
right. Yes, and I was actually technical with the compass and the map, and like I was like, wow, I actually know what I'm doing here. Other people don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to read a compass and a map. They don't know what it means to go 6 degrees this way and then.
So that was your literal first experience with complete incompetence.
Right,
Like-
exactly. Yeah, and then
As
we
an
got
adult,
there,
you had no idea that
right,
would be
we got
continuous.
there, and I slept under the stars, but like it was just nice.
That's such a beautiful way to say I just slept on the ground.
I just slept on the ground. No, I slept on the ground on a tarp with like all my shit set up nice, and like we just hung out, and it was like, and then in the morning we hiked out, and that was I used the compass again to guide us back, and like it was just nice because like that was like it separated me completely from adults, from even the kids that I was with. They actually they saw me pooping, and they like made fun of me for that, but like that was it. And I was like, dude, I gotta poop. Like, yeah, so what? I was pooping. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
That's actually probably a really weirdly beneficial thing, because it would be like,
I wasn't getting,
that's the lowest you could be at that point, is
right
pooping,
it's
and you don't even care.
Yeah, and exactly, because I was like, they're not beating me up, they're not calling me names, they were just like, oh dude, we saw you pooping. Like,
They're not pissing in your mouthwash.
They're not pissing in my mouthwash, exactly. So like that, and I was like, it literally wasn't that big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, you saw me pooping, like, yeah, so what? And then when I got back to camp, like we were focusing on tying knots. I was doing good with tying the knots, and like we were doing everything. We were doing all these activities. There was even, this is the first time I got into like I'll even call it just sports in general, was because before I was in baseball as a kid and like soccer, but I never liked it. But in there was this game where we were all given walking sticks, and the game was, we made a circle with the walking stick, and you stood up next to each other, held the walking stick, and you were trying to hit each other's feet, but you had the walking stick so you could block it while they're trying to hit your feet, and if they hit your feet, then that's a point for them, and the first to 3 points is the winner. And that was the first time where I was like, I was a fat kid, but like I actually, I felt myself moving, like I felt myself getting energized to win, and I was winning. I mean, Ashton would play that like over and over again.
When was the first time you thought to work out to lose weight?
That was way later.
That's
okay. Way later, yeah.
I was just curious because you keep talking about being a heavier kid,
mm-hmm.
and having
I was heavy all the way through
thoughts
8th grade.
about being a heavy kid,
and I was very insecure about being. I was aware that I was big because people made me aware that I was big.
No shit.
Yeah. But like other than that,
well, my curiosity. I'm sorry. I was just wondering, like, when did you decide initially to not be a big kid? I suppose.
And that was actually at the end of 8th grade when my dad showed me like a vegan documentary, and I was like, I want to become vegan, and I became vegan for like a month, and like I lost a lot of weight in that month, and then I was like, wow,
you would. Yeah,
right, because it was like veganism kind of malnourishes you, but
we won't talk about that. We don't have to go into offensive territory.
Yeah. So at the end of Brown Sea, I felt good. Like I had all of these like accomplishments that I did where I was like, wow, I actually rank up against these kids. I actually like was away.
Did you ever feel like you could like physically compete with kids? Like
no.
Okay.
It was mostly just that I was like, there are things that I can do that other people can't do. And because of that, as well as just like even just being alone in the wilderness, I was like, this is nice. Just being alone is nice. Like I just I get to.
I think you and I had a very like, I don't want to say different, because we started off sort of the same way. Because I had long hair, and I know that doesn't sound like much, but back then it was, you're a girl, you're gay, you're you're a faggot. I got called that a lot. Pardon the language. So I was never heavy. I was thicker in elementary school, but like I said, I got lanky. So I don't know. It's interesting because our middle school things are starting to differentiate even at sixth grade.
Right.
Because in sixth grade, I went to middle school, and I was put in gifted,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I had most of my classes with Mr. B,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Brenneman, and a lot of it wasn't really like focused.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of it being like he would transition class to class instead of subject to subject. Like there
Uh-huh.
wasn't like, oh, this is history, this is English. It would
Uh-huh.
be just 3 hours of class,
Uh-huh.
and I that was fine. I remember. I think the most influential thing for me out of that class period was one, Mr. Brenneman always read my stories.
Uh-huh.
Because I was decent at writing, but I always had this, like, fear of writing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want people to read what I wrote. Like, I had a real, like,
Uh-huh.
anxiety about it. And he would read it, and he'd be like, this was really good, and this was really good. This is how you can improve. This is how this story doesn't make sense. And I would continue just doing it just for Mr. Brenneman.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, I think it was 7th grade. 7th grade, I think, was when they stopped doing the gifted all-inclusive thing.
Uh-huh.
I believe George W. Bush was elected around that time. And that, like, fucked with shit. I don't remember.
That's funny because Obama was elected in 2008, which was when I was in 3rd grade. And,
No.
Yes. I was in 3rd grade when Obama was elected.
Do we have that much difference?
I was raised in Obama era, and you were raised in Bush era.
I graduated in Obama.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to add that me, future me. We don't.
But, okay, so for me with 6th grade, that was like the transition into 6th grade, was like that like experience. And like when I got into 6th grade, I remember I was really into learning. I was really into school. I was really into that. But like
I loved learning all the way until I got to high school.
yeah, well, so like I loved learning. I loved learning even in high school, but like the thing that I hated was like homework. But like so I remember my first experience like in middle school was like first they did like the walkthrough where like you're able to walk to the school, and like I don't remember most of what the school was like, but then I remember like getting my own locker, and that was interesting.
That was cool, right?
That was cool, yeah.
You're like,
because,
I get my own like
yeah
thing.
And like I
didn't use my locker,
I
but-
never used it how I should have. I
didn't
literally
use
just
it
like
for
I got a
shit.
paper and I just threw it in there. I just threw the paper in the locker, and then by the end of the year, like it was like literally just filled with papers, and like I didn't know which one was which. And like whenever a teacher would ask me like, "Do you still have this homework?" I'd be like, "I don't know, maybe," and I might have found it like in that locker, but like I remember.
Oh my
Also,
God.
here's a influential moment is like in 6th grade, my math teacher, Miss Smith, she was nice looking too, but like she played us this video. I think it was like about the invention of zero in math.
Oh,
and like
the Grecian zero, yeah.
right, and like that was cool because that was the first time where I was like, wow, there's like
I remember
more,
those moments where it's
right.
like, that's something I want to learn.
right, or
You know,
even
like-
it's just like, wow, that's interesting because this thing that we're learning, I don't know anything about it. Like I don't know why we're learning. I don't know whatever. But like just knowing the history of like a zero and like thinking about because
Or even thinking about that zero didn't exist at some point.
right,
Like,
exactly.
That was
like there
what
was a
caught
some point
me.
where
I
I
was
was
just
like,
like-
wow, a lot of things that I know now, like people didn't know. They had to figure it out, and then it's weird to think about what happens next, and like.
oh yeah.
And
Yes.
then also another thing is like, so I remember going to school. I wasn't bullied initially. Going into school, like I felt good because I was kind of left alone. I had my friend Ashton that we would meet on lunch and like eat, and then eventually he started getting like more popular friends. And when he got more popular friends, I made less popular friends because like we were friends in elementary school or whatever, and then we just were like, oh, we're both unpopular. Let's hang out. Um, and then but like so the beginning of middle school is just like me learning. It's just me like figuring it out and like learning a bunch of cool stuff where I'm like, wow, there's a lot more to this than I expected. And one of the things I remember was in Miss Good's class, she set up a thing where it was like we're learning about Mesopotamia. Then eventually we got to Greece and we were learning about like the Mediterranean Sea, and she was teaching us about like trade and like empires kind of, and she gave us like resources, and like there was wherever we were we had certain benefits or whatever, and like it was a competition too. It was like whoever had the most shit at the end of it, through trading with different people. I was really good at it. And I'm gonna throw back to like when I was selling Pokemon cards in school. I was really good at making sells. Like I was really good. Like, look, you need this, I need this, and this may be more beneficial for me than what I'm giving to you. Is more.
But you still get it, right?
Yeah, you still get a little bit of benefit, right? Maybe not as much as me. And like I was really good at that. And I've always been like that. And again,
I'm not like that at all. It's weird that we connect so well because I'm not even close. Like, you want to know what happened for my 6th grade Grecian thing? I lied so hard. I found a city that was like maybe 300 population, Grecian city, and I lied so hard that I made up everything. Like, it would have taken me less time to look up that Grecian city than it would have been to lie about the presentation. But I lied. I lied so hard. Mr. Brennan was like, he took me after class and he was like, I know Grecian cities, but that was really good. You get an A, but don't do that again. And I was like, hell yeah. That's like,
well, we did like
I lied about their medicine. I lied about their military force. I lied about their influence on the world. It had to have been at least a 10-minute presentation, and there was nothing about it that was true. But I said it so convincingly that my whole class was just like, oh yeah, no, that's like, that was my experience with like.
And see, my school is different than yours because like we were very in the computer age at that point. So like all the boards, there wasn't whiteboards. Like you didn't just stand up and present. You had the tappables? We had the tappables with the smart boards or whatever. We had all of that. So like the teachers spent a lot of time setting up stuff for us to do.
Yeah, because nobody knows what the fuck to do with that.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly it. Was like we didn't actually use the smartboard that much. So like we actually did like interactive stuff in between us with like using the smartboard as like points basically.
Like a PowerPoint thing, like bop.
No, like collecting points. Like, okay, this team gets this, yeah. And we would have it written up there. But like a whiteboard, like literally a whiteboard on a screen.
It's way more
like,
effective.
It was really weird. But like, so most of middle school, most of 6th grade was fine. PE was the only place where I was actually like bullied because I was big and like it was a locker room in the boys' locker room.
See, I had the opposite thing for PE.
Yeah.
I was not really tall, but I was pretty tall. I think I was 5'5" when I started 6th grade. 5'4", something like that. And everyone else was like, 5 feet or whatever. And I never had a problem. Actually, truthfully, I've never really had a physical problem with most people until high school. But in middle school, there were like upstarts, people who were dicks. And I was just so like much bigger than them that they never bothered. And I was a skinny bean, like an awkward.
You were just tall. Like,
yeah, I was just taller.
Like, here's an experience that I had in the also, 6th grade locker room.
Locker rooms shouldn't exist in middle school. I, as a person, never wanted to see middle school dicks.
But you did. Actually, I didn't. Like, there was one kid who showed his dick, and he got in a lot of trouble. But like, so here's an experience that I had in the 6th grade locker room, that kind of like sums up where bullying started for me in middle school. Is like, I was at my locker and I was putting something in there, and it wasn't like a locker, built-in locker. It was just one of the ones where you pick it up and you can open it, and then you put a locker
the hatch
in there.
cut, yeah.
Right. And I was sitting there doing my locker, and I was in the bottom locker or whatever, and then some kid comes up to me, opens the locker next to me, opens it as hard as he can, so it slams into my head, and like I fall down, and like I don't remember exactly what happened, but I do remember like the feeling, and like I was like, oh, okay.
You and I have different anger issues because I would have fought that kid.
Right, and I couldn't. Like I was fat. Like I after like I was.
That gives you an advantage.
Well, no, because I was still like weak. Like I was not strong whatsoever.
Neither was I.
And again, so like I never felt like I could fight back because the one time I tried fighting back, like
my
brother,
I
got thrown down the stairs, and like
I don't know, man. Like I've always had this mentality that if somebody fucks with me enough, because I'm a nice guy. Like I legitimately do not want to fight or hurt anybody.
Yeah, I didn't want to fight.
But there's always been moments where I'm like, you push me hard enough, and I will hurt you.
And that's what maybe why I got bullied more was because I was never that. I was never like, I'm going to.
You just didn't like have it in your eyes.
No, I didn't. Like... I was just like, oh, this again. Like it just I would kind of accepted that this is how things are. Like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna get like beat up like for no reason. That's fine. Like. And it wasn't as bad as, like, I would get beat up with my brother. So, like, I didn't actually... Again, like, when I was talking about, me getting caught shitting and, like, they would make fun of me for that.
Right,
but, like, I wasn't getting my shit kicked. Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's what I felt like. I was like, oh, okay, I get a locker hit into me. But, like, he's not pulling a knife on me.
Attacking
He's not... Right. He's not, like, maliciously hunting me down. Like, it's just... him being and like so another thing they would do is like as I was walking up the stairs they would grab my leg and like grab my ankle and pull it so I would fall and like that's a pretty normal thing so I was like
it's not a normal thing, it's called slam teeth and it's not a good thing to do to other people.
I that was like pretty much every day and like to the point where like now like I don't know if you noticed Will tried to trip me once at work. And, like, I had already had that muscle memory of, like, someone tripping me that I can lift my leg so fast because I know, like, what's, I get tripped a little bit and I can lift my leg to not get tripped.
If Will tried that with me, I would bust his fucking
He wasn't being, like, malicious about it.
No, he never will be, but...
Right.
You and I have different solutions to the same problem.
Right, exactly. And, like... After that, he was like, wow, you've been tripped before, huh? And, like, I was like, yeah. And I didn't go any more in depth with him about it, but it was funny that, like, he knew from my reaction to him trying to trip me was like, yeah. But, like, that's pretty much it. It was like, that
Do you know what I would do to somebody who tried to trip me? I'd fucking
I don't even know how
them.
to trip someone, honestly. Like, I've never thought, like, how do I actually my dad used to do this thing. It's not malicious at all, but like as I was walking, he would put his foot under my foot and like kick it up so like my foot would go like that. And it wasn't tripping or anything, it wasn't malicious, it was fun. Like as a little kid I thought it was fun. But I would try to do it to him and he would let me do it to him, but like I tried doing it later on and it never worked. Like it never yeah.
Dude, you and I have very different mentalities.
Yeah.
It is interesting that we're still sitting here on the same podcast with, like, total different...
That's what's interesting, though, is, like... We let that's the point of this podcast, too, is, like... of especially this, like, this series is, like...
Yeah.
Look, we're friends now, but we come from insanely different points of view.
On that note, do you think... No.
We
wouldn't have gotten along.
Oh, in middle school?
No.
I was not friends with anyone in middle school. Like, I did not have friends besides
I was
Ashton.
so fucking angry, I only had 2 friends. And that was all the way up until the middle of 8th grade. I was so pissed the fuck off. I cut my hair in 6th grade.
There were people that I just never talked to because, like, they had friends. And, like, I wasn't just going to go join someone's friend group because that's not how it worked. Like, you couldn't just join a friend group. You had to know them. And I was mostly alone. So, like, I had Ashton... And then eventually, Ashton actually turned on me. So in 7th grade...
Turned on you?
Yes. So like in 7th grade, he started getting a lot more popular friends. Like, more attractive girls started to like him, and like cooler guys started to like him. And there was one day where like I was just sitting by myself because all I had was like I just drew. I just drew in my binder on a bench, all of lunch, and that was all I had.
Can you do art?
Not like, oh well, like you've seen my art. You know what I can do, and like I can't do anything like crazy good, but like I can draw basic stuff and I can have fun with it, and I can sit there and make something.
I think that's the most important part, is that you can have fun with it. I cannot have fun with it.
Right, and I can't have fun with it, and like but like I was sitting there doing something, and he walks up behind me while his entire friend group is there, and I wasn't paying. I never paid attention to anything because like, as long as I just stuck to my book, no one. Some people would maybe call me like, hey fatty or whatever, and I would look up and they'd be like ha ha ha, and I'd be like,
what the fuck is wrong with your life?
Well, like it's not that bad because like compared to the original stuff, like it would just be like, oh okay, yeah, whatever. I'm just I'm gonna continue drawing.
How did you not try to fight those people?
Because I couldn't. So like I did eventually in 8th grade. I kicked this kid, and like that stopped him from bullying me. But like other than that, I haven't really fought anyone in middle school. And
if someone told me, "Hey fatty," while I was sitting down, I'd have fucking gone and kicked their shit.
I was not that strong. I really wasn't that strong.
I wasn't strong either.
I wasn't
it doesn't
confident
matter
either. But okay, so I'm sitting there drawing in my book, and he comes up to me, and he does this thing where like you clap their ears.
Oh,
and
that'll break your
no.
drums.
I went to the nurse's office because I had a ringing headache, and like I was at the time I had the ringing headache or whatever, but I was also, now that I look back at it, I was more so like upset that it was Ashton who did it. Like it was really upsetting to me. Yeah, it was.
What is wrong with your life?
It was upsetting to me that like Ashton did that to me, and I even called my mom and I was like, Ashton did this, blah blah blah. And that's what I kept repeating. I was like, Ashton did it. Like it like
because it
really
was obviously traumatizing.
Right.
Yeah.
It really broke my heart that he did it. Cause like I'd been hurt before, and like I'd been even hurt worse than what he did to me. And at some point, like the headache wasn't that bad, but like I was so like I felt it in my chest. Like I was just like sad that he would do that to me. And I eventually told him that, and I think, because in 8th grade we were friends again. And like we were playing wall ball, and I was kind of the kid who like got the ball pegged at him a lot, but like at least I was playing wall ball. I wasn't, I wasn't like just by myself or whatever drawing, and then
Zach.
yeah, I know, but that's kind of how and okay, so to kind of separate this from like my personal life, because at this point in my life, like 6th grade, that was around the time when my mom left Steve, was because my stepbrother at the time was doing a lot of stuff that like they literally couldn't control anymore. So she was like, no, it's not, like we're just gonna, like I'm leaving, we're going back to my house. So I went back to my childhood house, and
do you remember what that was like? Revisiting your childhood house. Was that like a relief, or
it was a relief because I was away from Dylan, and I was like, okay. And what sucked was like when I left it, it was really nice. It was really clean, and it was like, when I think about like my memories as like a little kid, like a baby, it's white. It's all like clean, and everything it's a new house. But when we went back to it, she had been letting a friend of hers or whatever live in it, and they trashed it. So like going back, the carpets were like brown, and like everything.
Oh wow! So it wasn't like,
it had been aged, and like I didn't actually care about that.
Had been aged. That's a very nice way to say
that.
And
it did feel weird going back to it being so like dingy as it was, but like.
Did you feel comfortable? Like
I felt comfortable, and that was the thing, was like I was away from everyone, and like that's where I really started to just.
But that was 6th grade, right?
That was 6th grade. Yeah, okay. I was finally just I went back, and I went into my room, and that was it. Like I just had my room.
I think that would probably be the most important part to me if I was in your situation.
Right.
I went into my room.
Right, and that was it. Like, I had my room. Like, I still had, and it carried all the way through high school. I had very vivid dreams. I still have very vivid dreams, but like, I had really bad nightmares for a really long time, and like it got progressively worse into yeah, it got progressively worse into high school, where I had like sleep paralysis. I had like, even now I have narcolepsy because sleeping on a normal like basis is hard for me. Like I
have the opposite. I have
insomnia.
Yeah, I can't sleep for more than like 5 or 6 hours. It kind of depends, obviously. Because it kind of depends, obviously.
Right.
Like,
and the thing for me is like I constantly feel tired. Like even when I'm asleep, I'm dreaming about like, what if my alarm goes off? Like, I've been sleeping for too long,
or you are working and just drifting off.
Right, exactly, and it's like literally just I'm always tired.
I get that,
and
definitely.
But
the problem with most of that is that people don't do that or diagnose it in kids. Or when we were kids.
I was diagnosed with it, but like in order to prescribe me medication to do anything with it, they needed to do a blood test. And this was in high school, and like I did not want to do a blood test. I still don't really like needles, so I didn't.
Are you a werewolf?
No, do werewolves not like blood tests? I don't know. I didn't want a blood test. I really hate needles.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I really hate needles, and like
you have a tattoo.
Yeah,
he has a new tattoo,
and I hate it. I hated getting it. Like, I hate that feeling of like.
Show
needles.
them their tattoo.
I'm retarded.
Are you? Yeah. I was gonna say, are you stupid, dude? Are you dumb?
There we go,
bro. Just do this. You fucking moron.
It's not. No, your arm is like in the camera view. This is my opposite arm of the camera. See, there you go. That's it right there.
It's Garfield.
It's Garfield. And, like, I hated getting it. But, like, okay. That's what... So, sorry. When I was talking about middle school, the thing I was trying to separate was, like, that personal experience. So, like, I was back at my mom's house, and, like, had my own room. Also, my mom worked for... She still works for Verizon. So, like, I had phones. Like, I had smartphones that were, like, new because she...
Oh, you got that probably earlier than most
I
kids.
did, yeah. I got the first, like, smartphone. It was called the Xperia. If you look that up, it was like an Android smartphone.
I didn't get a smartphone for a long
time. Like, one of the first smartphones, and, like, it was cool. And, like, that was where I so, like, I would always watch stuff on, like, my computer, like, watch Netflix. I watched a lot of adult cartoons because...
Can I ask you what adult cartoons are?
Like Drawn Together. If you know what Drawn Together is, you know for a fact kids should not be watching that.
Okay, we got it. We just nailed it.
Yeah, that was pretty. Like, that's worse than South Park.
That's what you watched?
I watched that. Yes,
You're like 10, and
yes, and it sucked because one time when I was like 10, I asked for that for my birthday from someone, and I didn't get the full season or whatever on DVD because my mom told her friends about it, and they're like, he should not be watching that. And like, it was this lesbian couple. They were just like, he should not be watching that. Like, it's a very adult cartoon. And I was so pissed because like I wanted that like season. I wanted the whole like series so bad. And because I had watched it on Netflix because like Netflix had so much shit.
Netflix didn't exist when I was a kid.
And I grew up with Netflix beginning, like when they were still mail you shit. Like that's
I remember
so
that.
Cool.
I remember that.
I watched Tenacious
Gamefly.
D. Yeah, I remember I had Gamefly for a little bit.
Sucked.
It did suck, and that's the thing that sucked was like my dad got me a Gamefly subscription, but like the thing that sucked is like
it's so useless as to be like
because you have to return it after 3 days, and like you can't enjoy a game after 3 days. Because there's
so much content,
exactly.
And if it doesn't have that much content, it wasn't worth buying in the first place.
Exactly, and like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Maybe if I was an adult at that time, I would have used it differently.
Maybe if they gave me like 2 weeks,
yeah,
I would cycle games.
Right, and you had the option to buy it from them, and
which was gross.
Which was expensive, yeah. It was more expensive than if you were to just
Honestly,
buy it normally.
in middle school... Okay, so my middle school experience was mostly Mr. Brenneman.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly walking around. I want to bring this up specifically because this is something that, like, influenced me directly. Between 6th and 8th grade, and a little bit of ninth grade, all I did was walk around this city. I'm not talking like, oh, I went down to the corner store. I'm talking miles. Miles for no
I didn't start
reason.
walking or like riding. Well, actually, I rode my bike with my dad when I was in elementary school, but like that was only a couple of times. But I didn't start like walking around town until high school.
Me and Jet and Sam would walk miles. I'm not joking you, like he would live by San Antonio and San Pedro and we would all the way walk to the Walmart on Academy.
Actually,
like
I lied. I did walk from school to home or to home from school.
that I did a lot. And that was one of the first places I ever had heartbreak.
Oh, yeah.
I was so when I went to Sandia, it doesn't really matter for the context, but there's an arroyo, which is a ditch that runs from that school like maybe 100 feet south and then straight to my old house. So in junior high, I was at the beginning of that arroyo because I was going to go home, and the girl I was dating stopped somebody else's car. She was the passenger. So, like, a car stopped next to me on this bridge. And she got out and she was like, I don't think it's going to work out. And I was like, what? And then she got in the car and left, and I was like, okay.
So with me walking again, that's actually kind of where I experienced like the first like rejection was like
that broke my. That really hurt. I remember that hurting so bad that I walked all the way down to my house, further, and came back because I just like.
Yeah. Well, mine for me was like. I think it was 7th grade. This girl named Jay Lynn came to my school and she was new, and that was the first time where I was like, "Holy shit!" Like she looked like she's
you got
beautiful.
The business.
Yeah, she like I like her. Like I like her a lot, and like I talked to her barely. Like I could talk to other girls because I didn't like them that much, but like I never talked to her. I couldn't. And then
isn't that a weird thing? Because people expect nobody to be able to talk to the opposite sex when you're younger. But I never had a problem until
I liked them.
Yeah, until it was like, oh, good. Yeah, no, you're
like,
awesome.
Whoa, what's this shit going on with this whole shit?
That has translated somewhat to adulthood.
Yeah.
Because I can talk to anybody. I'm introverted as hell, and I hate talking to people, but I can.
Right.
And then when I like you, it's just like...
Right, exactly. Like, oh, man.
Fuck!
So, like, I liked her a lot. And then she walked, like, 1/4 of the same way that I walked. And one day, she was walking, I was like... I ran up to her and I was like, hey, you're Jaylyn, right? Like, and I tried walking with her for however long. But it was only 1/4 of the way walk. And, that was, like, the only experience I had with her was, like, just trying to talk, but, like, she was very quiet. She was also very shy. Very, very, very shy. So, like, I couldn't get any conversation going. And, like...
Because you're both introverts at that point.
Exactly, yeah. And at that point, like...
I've been there.
Yeah, and it was just, like, we never talked to each other again. Actually, you know what's funny? You know how I got the Sumco job? When I was graduating... I found her again, like, on some social media, and we started texting, and we started dating, and then her grandma is Robin from Sumco.
No fucking shit.
And I asked Robin, hey, is your job, like, what do you do for work? Because I was asking every adult at the time when I was graduating, what do you do for work? Because if I get an internship or whatever, and she was like, actually, I think we're hiring. And then I submitted my resume, and I got hired. to Sumco. But I broke up with Jalen as well, so it was very awkward with me and Robin. But like that isn't that yeah that's how I got the job at Sumco, which I think is it's for me and him it's kind of crazy right now because like isn't that such a weird like thing? Yeah,
That's retarded. I hate. Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up.
What do you think about this?
I like this. As the years have gone on, it's not my favorite beer.
This has a lot more. It's not as like cerveza, where it's like more like citrusy, but this is very kind of like. I noticed that there were like a lot of fruitier stuff.
Yeah.
It's very fruity.
I think I'm getting old. I just. It came out. I remember when it came out, and it was really good. But honestly, I would rather have one or the other, like an IPA or
raspberry and tart cherry puree. So it's very fruity. It's
a very fruity beer, and it's not my favorite only because again I would rather have an IPA or something fruity light like.
I really like cervezas. If next time we're gonna do the marble cerveza, like this.
We are.
Yes, we should. I'll get
now
more.
We should.
Yeah, we are. That's.
He's gonna buy it.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry it was a little bit of a cluster at the end, but
yeah, the whole thing was kind of we mostly like seriously check out that interview with Brent.
Absolutely.
Brent's so
Our
cool.
last episode.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He
was
really
awesome.
Is. He really is. I he works with me at Pokey, and like I love he's one of those people that like I look forward to seeing when I go in and like when
he
he's
is very well spoken, and given the nature of this episode, we may make 7 through 12 or I'm sorry, 9 through 12 kind of a two-parter. It kind of depends. Just because
maybe I feel like I can get to 9 to 12 in one episode because like we got through a lot just through here. Like actually, it what's interesting is like I got through a lot of time, and there's a lot that I kind of.
I feel like
out.
I missed a.
I missed a lot, but like
done.
I used to be a brony in middle school. I missed that. That was the separation I was trying to get to. Was like when I was alone in my room a lot. Was I was on the internet a lot. And,
porn.
Huh?
What?
No, there was not a lot of porn. Although I did get into that, but that was not. I was also into the non-porn internet culture, which is almost an oxymoron. But the internet.
It's
culture
all
is
good.
insane.
It's all good. It's all good.
We'll get more into it, because I really got into internet culture in high school. So like.
Yeah, I got into video games in high school. All right.
I don't have any closing
Nope,
remarks.
we're good. Goodbye.